Hi guys, I'm James Mack, and today I'm going to be doing a step-by-step video tutorial on how I created this Christmas inspired makeup look using all products now available at Boots. So I'm a massive Christmas fan. I am a Christmas baby, and when it comes to Christmas time, I say my favourite thing about the season is without question decorating. And I've gone with Christmas lights because I feel that's what inspires me the most, or gets me the most excited about this time of year. I love all the lights on the high streets at this time, so I thought to myself, why not bring some of that inspiration into this creative look? So every makeup product is now available at Boots, and if you guys want to recreate your looks, that would be amazing. I'd love to see that. Hopefully this would be something that would inspire you to get creative with Christmas this year. Otherwise, get a glass of milk, some cookies, sit back and enjoy. Okay guys, so first I'm going to start with my base.
So I'm going first with the number 7 Airbrush Away Radiance Booster Primer. I'm using a flat concealer brush just to rub that in gently. And then I'm going in with the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer. And I'm going to go around the T-zone area just to help blur out some texture, buff out the remainder. Then I'm using the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Foundation in the shade Rose Beige. I'm going to buff that out lightly, and then I'm going to add another layer, and then I'm going to buff the remainder out towards my neck. And then I'm going to use a flat concealer brush, and I'm just going to fill out the T-zone area and onto the forehead. And what I like to do afterwards is just buff out again with the same buffing brush and then press down with a beauty blender. Using the Maybelline Superstay Full Coverage Under Eye Concealer next in shade Fair number 10. And again, I repeat the same steps using a smaller flat concealer brush, and then I just blend out the edges with a beauty blender. I like to add some concealer onto different areas where I think needs some more coverage. So I go around the edge of my nose, and then I just cover any other impurities or textured areas, and I use a small beauty blender again. Next I go in with the Revolutions XX range, and I use the CX03 Light Concealer for my eyelids. And I'm going to repeat the same step in my left eye and my right eye. Again, I like to go in with a brush, and then I like to blend out with a small beauty blender from Real Techniques. I'm going in with the number 7 Perfect Light Loose Powder in the medium shade to lightly set my face. And then I'm going to use the number 7 bronzer shade Maple. I'm then using a larger fluffy dome brush just to buff out the rest of the bronzer for around the different areas of face that I want to contour. For blush, I'm using the Revolutions XX range, and I'm using the shade Jitter.
This is a quick thought process while I'm doing this look. Sometimes I like to take the medium-sized fluffy dome brush and just pinch the hairs at the end, because it actually works just as effectively and the same when I want to get a little bit of the blush to help contour down my right side of the bridge of my nose, because I'm going to have kind of a lot of blush warm tones around this area for the Christmas light effect. Now, I'm very aware that there is a complete imbalance of where I've applied blush compared to the left side of my face to the right side of my face. It looks like I've been out in the sun for too long, but this is a creative Christmas-inspired makeup look, so there's a reason why I did this. I'm going to keep going on. I'm going to add some highlighter, and then I'm going to go on to the eye makeup. So let's keep trucking.
To top off my base, I'm just going to use the number 7's Press Highlighter in the shade Golden Glow. I just use a little bit of the Rimmel's Jelly Glitter on the top of my cheekbones, just add a little bit of shimmer. For my brows, I'm using L'Oreal Paris the Plump and Set Brow Gel in the shade Deep Brown. I start at the root of my brow, and then I just brush upwards, and then I do a second coat just to add a little bit more definition and depth, and then I just repeat the same pattern on my left brow. I like to use the Maybelline's Tattoo Brow Pen, again in Deep Brown. I just like to sketch in a little bit the inner corners of my brows so that it just adds a little bit of length.
This part might sound a little bit silly, but I will use the same L'Oreal Plump and Set Brow Artist gel through my tash. It simply matches the same shade as my eyebrows. Yeah, I'm going to show you guys how I do my infamous J Mac mustache.
And I'm just doing the same coating in the same direction of the hairs of my mustache, and I'm just filling out the little extra corners, and this just gives me a little bit more definition, as I like to have that tash popping.
I'm going to be using the Extravaganza palette from Revolution Pro Makeup. I'm going to be going in and creating a cut crease look. Once I've done the eye makeup, I'll be doing the light painting, or the streak of Christmas inspired lights.
To start creating my desired eye shape, I like to go in with the number 7's black Stay Perfect Gel Eyeliner to map out where I want the shape of my new eye crease to be. I actually like to go in and just buff out the etching of the gel liner so I can make a little bit more of a gradient. I deepen the colour by setting with some of the Revolution Extravaganza's black eyeshadow. Next I go in and add some colour, and I'm using the shade number 48, the purple shade. I buff this colour out, creating a gradient between the black and the purple using a Spectrum brush number B06. Then I go in to contour the inner corner of the hood of my eye. I'm now going to create a transition tone, number 31 and number 41. These are both hot pink shades. I use a cotton bud and some Garnier's Skin Active Micellar Cleansing Water, cleaning off any excess eyeshadow that I don't want before I go in with my glitters to cut the crease. I'm using the Rimmel London's Jelly Gel, and then I place on top the NYX Professional Metallic Glitter. I'm using a Spectrum flat concealer brush just to gently apply the glitter onto my lids. I go back in one more time with the number 7 Black Stay Perfect Gel Eyeliner just to etch out the wing of my eye makeup, and then I apply the same black eyeshadow number 65 from the Extravaganza palette just to help smoke out the liner. And then I clean up my wing using the NYX Professional Epic Ink Liner in the shade Black. One last time, blending the black line into the edge of my cut crease using a smudging brush from Spectrum number A13. I apply the number 7's Black Stay Perfect Gel Liner along my waterline, and then I smudge out with black and purple shadows using a Morphe's M421 brush. I finesse the outer line work for both the top and bottom of my lashes, and then we go on to the sketching out of the light paint work across my face. So I'm using a clean Spectrum smudge brush number A13, and then I'm using the same number 31 and 41 hot pink eyeshadows from the Revolution Extravaganza palette, and then I slowly but surely sketch out the mapping of where the light is going to track across my face. After I sketch this out, I go in using the NYX white liquid liner pen, and then I layer slowly but surely a few dots, a few streaks, and really slow attention to detail. I just go inside where I've applied the hot pink eyeshadows, just to give that kind of neon light swirl effect. I add a few little extra details to create movement and more texture in the illustration. And now it's time to add some Christmas lights. So I'm using the Rimmel Wonder Swipe glitter liners in 4 different shades. I'm using the various colours applied onto my forehead. And then just to create some 3-dimensional depth, I go back in with the NYX Professional Epic Ink Liner for the black shadow, and then the NYX Professional white liquid liner. I then bring the Rimmel Wonder Swipe pens below the lash line just to create 3 Christmas baubles to help finish off the illustration. I add some 3D illustration. I then press a small amount of the NYX Professional Metallic Glitter on the inner corner of my eye. This will create a little extra highlight just to make sure that the inner corners of the eyes pop. And I just do a thin quick line of NYX Professional's white liquid liner. For my lips, I'm using the e.l.f. Ride or Die Balm, and I'm using it in the shade Just Peachy, and I use this to set my lips before I go in with the NYX Professional Liner Pencil in the shade Mauve. I then apply some number 7's Moisture Drenched Lipstick in the shade Caramel Silk. And for that final bit of sheen, I'm using Max Factor's Spotlight Sheer in the shade 005 Cushion.
In pure makeup artistry style, I'm going to be cutting 1 pair of lashes. These are the Opulent Formings, and I'm going to be adding onto the edge the Kamek Formings lashes. So watch the last step, and then I'm going to show you guys the final look.
A great little technique I have is using the number 7's Brow and Lash Brush Through Comb, and it just helps make sure that the false lashes really sit well with my natural lashes. I top up using a little bit of the L'Oreal's Volume Mascara, and I go in and I just press into the centre of the lashes. To set, I'm using the NYX Professional Dewy Finish Setting Spray.
Okay guys, the makeup look is done. I feel I have 1 accessory left before I'm really in the full Christmas spirit. Now, much better. And here we have it guys. So the makeup look is complete, and to make sure I'm in the full Christmas spirit, I've just changed my top. So now I have all the gems, diamonds, bells, whistles and lights to get me in the Christmas spirit for the year. Can't wait just to probably get more makeup, see what Santa brings me this year, and I hope you guys have a lovely Christmas at home. Thank you so much for watching. I'd love to see some recreations of the look. I'd love to see that this look inspires you guys to get creative for Christmas. And if you loved seeing this makeup tutorial and you'd like to see more amazing beauty content, make sure to go ahead and subscribe to the Boots YouTube channel.